Hello, everyone. Have you missed me? I know you missed me. I missed you. You know, I've really been like, I don't even know if the word is busy. I don't even know if the word is indifferent. I've just been on autopilot for the past 2 weeks, really. And I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it. I'm not really big on celebrations myself, but my birthday is coming up in exactly 2 weeks. And it seems to me that a lot of things are starting to come full circle. Maybe it's because I'm just one step closer to age 30. I don't know. Maybe it's just realizing how much stuff I do that doesn't really benefit me. Whatever the case, you know, as much as, and I do kind of regret not posting as regularly because I have noted a lot of things down though throughout the time, so I'll be making posts about them. You could say I've been socializing a lot more these days, like probably like 300% more, and that's like from like next to zero. So I've really, I guess I could say socializing, but it's more so I just look at people as case studies nowadays. Because we understand this reality is sick. This world is sick, and a lot of human beings are sick. So even if I call them friends and family, they will almost none of them will ever understand the mindset that I have developed, especially when delving more into antinatalist type of topics like oh man, I saw so much, so much, so much that almost every interaction I've had would warrant an entire video. And this really goes back to how we are forced, right? We are forced to socialize. We are forced to socialize. Somebody who doesn't socialize is outcasted. They're in some ways, it's not that they're shamed into socializing, but they're more so deprived of it, if I could say that. Maybe you're ugly, maybe it's something else, I don't know, but for most people you're just literally forced to socialize. There is no alternative to that. And my friend group has just been getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I'm kind of glad, to be honest, because I don't really have the time to keep people around who are just keeping me around to propagate their own delusions. What do I mean by this? The people you keep around you say more about you than you by yourself. I'd say this is pretty self-evident, and that's not to say it's like a bad thing or a good thing. It is what it is. And I've made content about incels really having a false idea of what exactly this hookup culture or relationship dynamics are, especially in the modern sense. I've realized that, especially when it comes to romantic relationships, you really have to keep them private, even from your friends. Friends, right? You do. In fact, the quickest way to know who your friends are is to get into a relationship. Quick, absolutely quickest, or even just gesturing at the idea of getting into a relationship. And, someone like me, I guess, I tend to make myself available to my friends, you know, when need be. But if there's a woman I'm interested in talking to, dating, whatever, and I let them know about it, it will instantly show me what kind of person they are. Because me personally, like my friends' girlfriends, I really have zero interest in them, like completely, completely. Sure, I can say, okay, maybe that one looks attractive, but like other than that, like there's not going to be a situation where I'm going to be talking to them by themselves at any given time. I'm not really like, it's just, as a guy, you just have to develop that level of respect among your friends, right? But personally, I've noticed in a few of my friends, right, that the moment they know of a woman that I'm interested in, they will do everything in their power to show that woman that they're the better option. It's not all of them, it's some of them. And it seems like it's just getting blatantly worse as I get older. And, again, like I've said before, the older people get, the more immature they become. I think I might save that for a video. But the older people get, the more helpless and really weak and weak-minded they become. Think about it. Just think about it in terms of the human physiology. You're born, maybe you start off weak, your bones develop, whatever. You go through puberty, adulthood, then you go into old age, and everything literally just turns to shit. Oh, and and if you're a woman, put menopause on top of that, you just become more helpless the more the years go by. And the delusion of this place to keep selling he died of natural causes at age 96, 94, age 102. Like, why? Why is that such a good thing? Why is that such a good thing that somebody just becomes progressively weaker and more dependent and more, maybe they have Alzheimer's or something. They just lose their Alzheimer's or dementia. They lose their memory. They lose their ability to function as a human being. But because they lived so long without all those illnesses or sicknesses, then they died like that. That's a cause for celebration. Really, oh man. But anyways, one thing about this dating culture, it is hyper competitive. Hyper competitive. And for me, the kinds of women that I like, if I really ask myself, if I really like sit down and be like, what kind of woman do I like? It's a woman who just knows what she wants and goes for it, right? I don't know if that's been painted as like easy or something, but like the women who have done that, to me at least, have never really come off easy in that sense. Some of them maybe, but like even the ones who are like hard to get, it can still be easy anyways. And I've gotten to a stage in my life where I don't force things. No matter what it is, no matter how I'm told to feel about it, I don't force things. And I've realized I can't really keep the kind of people that I want to keep around me that we could work effectively together because that's just my demeanor. I don't like arguing, I don't like fighting, I don't mind conflict. But like the moment somebody's disrespectful to me, I don't even do anything really. And it's quite fun. I just don't react. Like, you'd be surprised how few people actually don't know what to do in that situation. They just, they incite because they have nothing else to add, right? Not reacting is really underrated, right? There's times, of course, you do have to react, right? You know, people getting into your personal space, especially, you definitely should. But in most other cases, really, like, it's really just better to walk away. Because there's certain people who thrive off negative interactions. They thrive off getting you to react negatively. And a lot of people have had to create friend groups that enable such stupidity, quite frankly. This, oh man, I don't know if I've made it obvious, but human social dynamics are just terrible, man. Look at even other animal species and how they get along. Yeah, sure, they might kill each other, they might fight. Well, like, what is it that they do that humans don't do? In fact, we do vastly worse things to one another, right? There's a reason why the Geneva Conventions exists, whichever, yeah, you know, there's a reason the concept of war crimes and human rights exists, because we're worse than animals. We're literally worse than animals. And we can pretend that friendship is like a cornerstone of human interaction, right? And yet if you really look at it, what, you know, how can you really say, right? This is a question I'm asking you. Can you really say that any of the friends you've had have had a genuinely positive effect on you, right? Of the number of friends that you've had or have, how many of them actively feed into your life as much as you feed into theirs? And I guarantee you the answer is not that many. But still, you call the people who don't really provide any value in your life friends. And it's just gotten to an extent that, like, people just feel comfortable around you enough to say that they're your friend, but not actually do anything that you would expect of a friend, right? Like, I'm somebody, you know, certain certain things can trigger me, like even trigger me to the point of like punching someone. And you know, it's very obvious things, but at the same time, if if you have a friend that if you have a friend that constantly they become complacent with your presence, basically, I guess you could say take you for granted, but it's more so like they how do I put this? It's really hard to explain. Okay, you know, let's say among your friends, you might insult each other, you might make fun of each other now and again, and you will know, uh, when when it's basically just jokes. But then there'll be times when they're just not joking, but they're pretending to joke. It's like a very thinly veiled, just insult, like a straight up just insult. And it's funny because those kinds of relationships will even progress into, like, let's say marriage, for example. And it reminds me of just how infantile, like, natalists are. They will miss all the red flags of their spouse or their partner, whatever, and they'll have kids with them and then realize they don't like this person at all. They like somehow they'll finally realize, yeah, actually I don't like them. And by that time, the kids are already born, and you don't like the person that you're partnered up with, and yet you have this responsibility that you brought upon yourself, right? But you want to guess who the punching bags become in that equation? Yes, the children. Literally the children. And the children that grow up in these kinds of dynamics, they really never had a shot to begin with. And I'm one person who doesn't like making excuses for on behalf of people. If somebody's an asshole, you can say they had a traumatic life and all that, and but at the end of the day, everyone has a good enough reason to be an asshole, right? I'd say most people are complacent, probably also ignorant, and you could even say borderline malicious in how they continue to perpetuate issues that they complain and cry and bitch and moan about all the time, yet they're like the center of that issue continuing to exist, And I think that's why I have found it so easy to just be a loner, like most of my life. I've had friends as a kid, even some in high school, but generally, like me, I can chill by myself. I have spent months during uni just locked in my room, just straight up locked in my dorm for like the whole winter, watching whatever the fuck I wanted, just getting out to pretty much buy food and then come back, right? I would have zero human contact, and I honestly believe that was one of the best things I've ever done. And it makes sense why bears go hibernating during the winter. What if, would life be as shit as it is right now if humans had like a 2-month hibernation period, like a mandatory hibernation period? Look, it'd still be shit, yes. But think about like, even like every 4 months, there's like a month where no one does anything else except like just sleep and eat. But then you have to get the food transported and blah blah blah, so really there'll still be people doing it, a hibern, like if you can ever take like a month or even 2 weeks or even 2 months to just have completely to yourself, do it. Because most of what we do when we get back home is just try to detoxify from the normal social interactions that we have to go through every day. That's what most people do, right? Even if it's getting home, turning on Netflix and cracking open a beer, whatever, right? And it again begs the question, like, why the fuck are people doing things that just make them miserable like this and continue to complain about how miserable they are, right? It's vicious self-repeating cycle that they don't want to break. And I think the other reason why I find it so easy to be a loner is because when I see people doing things like that, it'll just cause me to like be disgusted with them, really. And I don't think that's really healthy for me. That's really not good for me personally, right? I don't need to be getting angry at something at some event or something that I really don't even have any investment in it. I have no investment in this reality, and neither do you, by the way. I have no investments here. So why am I going to expend so much energy to be mad at something that, like, this person just thinks like a fucking, not even like an infant? Because, like, have you met children? Children are actually really switched on. And it's the fact that, they have to navigate the world and learn about the world. Okay, yeah, they eat whatever they can get their hands on. They play in places that are completely dangerous and everything. But children are way more put together than adults. You know, nobody told me that growing up would really just show you how there is no such thing as growing up. There really is no such thing as growing up. You're growing down. You're growing down into the fucking ground. You're not growing up. You're not a fucking tree. We're just, as soon as we're born, it's just one foot into the grave, the next foot into the grave, down, 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 down. And this false idea of maturing and gaining, like I'm so disgusted with so many like adults I see nowadays, really, because of it, because of that, right? But at the same time, I'm still just so invested. Ironically, I'm just so invested in seeing how this is all going to play out. You know, to be born in a fucked up time like this, which is pretty much every time, is one thing. But to see how things are just changing so quickly over and over and over, I find it interesting. So I can't really say that I have no investment in this reality. I'm probably just invested in watching. Uh, I'm invest. I'm invested in watching how things play out. Let me say that, right? I don't know why this was such a difficult video for me to make. I'm just still trying to collect my thoughts together because I have so much that I wanted to talk about. So, forgive the slowness and the abrupt breaks in this video. There'll definitely be more to come.